Dan Rivera, a paranormal investigator with over a decade of investigative experience, passed away in his hotel room Sunday evening in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on the concluding night of Annabelle the Doll's visit to Gettysburg. She had a 3-day event there, all sold out. Dan Rivera is one of the hosts for the Devils on the Run tour that is organized by the New England Society for Psychic Research, founded by Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators of renown, back in 1952. Their son-in-law, Tony Spera, Dan Rivera, and others continue the work of Ed and Lorraine to this day. Now, details right now are not forthcoming. All we know for sure is that sometime late Sunday evening, right after Annabelle's visit to Gettysburg concluded, Mr. Rivera was in his hotel room. Some life-threatening event or situation occurred, and paramedics were called to the scene. They administered CPR to Mr. Rivera, and they were unable to revive him, and he was pronounced deceased. That's all we know for now in terms of the exact details surrounding Mr. Rivera's passing away. He is survived by his wife, Sarah, and their 4 children. Dan Rivera was only 54 years old. Personally, the few times that the New England Society for Psychic Research has taken Annabelle on tour, I've always said bad idea, because Ed and Lorraine Warren had housed that doll in a special wooden case, sanctified by a Catholic priest, the wood was soaked in holy water, for crying out loud, and holy oils. And the case was sealed by the priest upon the doll being put into the case. Ed and Lorraine Warren, even though they themselves went out on numerous tours, never once took Annabelle out of her case. And in fact, Lorraine Warren is on record as saying she was afraid of that doll because she knew what horrible thing was in it and what it was capable of doing to others. And so now, somehow, some way, the people in charge think it's okay to take this doll out into the public. My friends, when this occurred, I live only 10 hours drive from New Orleans, and Annabelle was in New Orleans. I can't remember now if it was for 2 days or 3, and a bunch of people that I'm connected with here locally all caravanned over to see her, wanted me to come with them, said, oh, we're gonna have a great time, it's New Orleans and we'll party and it'll be so awesome. And I was like, no thank you. And I warned them all off of it. I said, you don't want to be in the same room with that thing, because it's not just a doll. I don't care what anyone says. I really don't. That's because I myself am a psychic sensitive. I have lifelong experiences with the paranormal. I know when I just see pictures of that doll, how sick I feel. I know there's something in that doll. And as a matter of fact, there's more than one somethings in that doll. There's numerous. As to why they just sit there and reside, I have no idea. Why don't they just leave? Maybe they're somehow bound to that doll. I don't know. All I know is that thing should never be removed from its case. Ed and Lorraine's instructions should have been followed to the letter. They were not. And now we have this poor man who passed away in his hotel room on the concluding night of Annabelle's tour in Gettysburg. And just a whole other freaky component to this situation, we all know what the town of Gettysburg is infamous for. It was the site of the bloodiest battle of the Civil War and is the epicenter of the most American casualties in the history of our country. Dan Rivera was an Army veteran, okay? He was former military. He passed away at Gettysburg. I mean, oh my God, technically, that makes him the most recent military casualty in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. But just what or whom is he the casualty of? That remains in question. I'm back. I've been editing this video and I wanted to add something in. I did change my shirt just because the other blouse was so hot. You know, I talk about this sort of thing a lot just because I have many clients who deal with hauntings. I've had quite a few who've also dealt with demonic infestations and in 2 cases, even possession. So I've dealt with the dark numerous times in my 40-year career as a light worker. I just have to say, it's important. If you do go out to see some sort of haunted museum or go to even a haunted place or even a cemetery, you know, like people do, just to see if they can catch anything weird. Or some people like to do, you know, rubbings of the tombstones. I'm an artist. I've done that before in old cemeteries out east in the New York area. It was pretty cool. You need to call on spiritual protection, okay? That's important. People scoff at it and they're like, oh yeah, it's just, you know, a building. And yeah, someone said they saw a ghost in there at one time or yada, yada, yada. It's not, none of this weird shit ever happens to me. Those are the people who end up experiencing the weird shit. I know. I know from my clients and I know from my family and friends. I've got a whole channel dedicated to it, you know, True Tales of the Paranormal. This stuff is very real. Now, I'm not saying the Annabelle doll got out of its case and this poor man. I am saying, however, there's very dark energy in that doll. Energy, think about it. It's not confined by a wooden case. I don't care if that case has been blessed by 1,000 priests. Energy is energy. Energy can go anywhere it wants to go. And for whatever reasons, it wants to remain within that doll. And so it has. Which, if you think about it, has ignited a movie franchise all about the doll, the Annabelle movies. There's another movie franchise, The Conjuring, all about the Warrens and their work. And yet a third movie franchise, The Nun, which again is strongly associated with the work of the Warrens. Do we see a pattern here? Think about it. With all the crazy shit going on our planet these days, and with me being a psychic sensitive, I can honestly tell you all this craziness, it's dark times, my friends. Very dark times. Those orbs people have been seeing, especially remember that huge orb flap over in New Jersey. I've got a couple of videos on that. Also in the description below. Everyone's saying, oh, it's extraterrestrials and they're coming and They're just, gently introducing themselves so the public psyche can get used to the idea. So we don't have people jumping out of windows and stuff like they did when Orson Welles put out his War of the Worlds radio show. You don't know about that? I think it was in 1938, I think. Google it. Very interesting story. Awful too, what some people did because they thought we were under attack. That stuff is demonic. I have evidence that I saw in my own backyard that it is demonic. I was seeing those orbs here in Houston, Texas. And I still have that video on my phone. I have yet to edit it because I've got this eye issue, and that type of video filmed at night, it needs a lot of editing. And looking at a lit screen at a phone, iPad, computer, TV, hurts my eyeballs. And it'll continue to do so until the problem is fixed. I had cataract surgery. They didn't get all the cataract out. And so I see a lot of glare now, and bright lights really hurt. So that being said, you'll be seeing more about the orbs on both of my channels at True Tales of the Paranormal and at Magical Musings. And they're not friendly, but they're also not what we would consider to be extraterrestrial. They are interdimensional beings. And by definition, interdimensional beings are not confined by the constructs of time and space like we are. And due to the abilities we know that they have, angels and demons, by definition, are interdimensional beings. And that's what we're seeing in those orbs. So anyone trying to call them up, like that guy, what's his name? I can't think right now. No, major bad idea. Do not do that. Do not try to instigate any type of communication with them. Because I did that and I found out what they are. No good, my friends, no good. And no good will come of that. So I just wanted to interject that and show you what I keep on hand when I do talk about dark things, as I have to do in my line of work. My line of work, I deal with clients who suffer from what I call spiritual maladies, and I help them through that. I always keep these on hand. Always. Not one, but 2 rosaries. This one belonged to my mother, who gave it to me on the occasion of my baptism when I was a baby. And this was blessed by the priest, Father Dorr, who performed my baptism. And he was also the priest who, 2 years before, married my parents. The second rosary was given to me by my godmother, Liz, on the occasion of my confirmation when I was 14 years old. It's also the day I left the church. And I've got another video about my spiritual background here and in the description below. The wood beads were carved from a tree in the Garden of Gethsemane. Yeah, that garden. Where Jesus walked. Where Jesus wept. This is really special. I always keep these with me when I discuss dark things, when I deal with dark cases. They're always within reach, sometimes even wear them around my neck. I do what it takes because I do not want that stuff anywhere near me or influencing my life in any way, shape, or form, and neither do you. So whenever you do deal with this stuff, if you like to watch horror movies like I do is another thing, I always keep at least one of them nearby. There has been a couple times in watching horror movies in my home where I have sensed something trying to come in the energy of my home. And I've reached for these, said the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys, not of the whole rosary, just of a portion. And the energy has then shifted back to what it should be. So just proving that when you do expose yourself to that type of energy, even if it's in a movie, it can still be dangerous. So take proper precautions, my friends, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. I am Nefer Kefri, your hostess with the ghostess. I will look into this further. Whenever I see any other definite details coming out, I will share them here. Meantime, I ask you please help support my channel by liking the video, leaving a comment. You have no idea how much that helps to get my videos out in front of new eyes. I just have surpassed 800 subscribers. Thank you all so very, very much. I'm going to be doing a separate video, a life update, and talks about the future for the channel. I do hope you'll subscribe, come back and watch that, and watch the playlist. I've got all my besties up there, and I will be also coming back with my top 5 scariest personal paranormal experiences soon. So watch out for that video. In the meantime, I also ask you, and most importantly, please say a prayer for the soul of Dan Rivera. May that poor man rest in peace, and pray for his wife, Sarah, and their 4 children. Thank you all so very much. This is Nefer Kefri wishing you a blessed day ahead.